Hello and welcome to Face to Face. I'm Kavit Afai. In this program, we are privileged to have Iran's Oil Minister Rostam Qasemi with us, who has come out fresh from the 18th International Oil, Gas, Refining and Petrochemical Exhibition, which is kicked off in the Iranian capital Tehran, with some 1,000 Iranian and foreign companies in attendance for this 4-day event. Mr. Qasemi, welcome. Thanks for taking the time out to join us here in the studios. The 18th International Exhibition of Oil, Gas, Refining and Petrochemicals, obviously a big event. Tell us about that and how that is going.
In the name of God, the All-Merciful, the All-Compassionate, I would like to express my greetings to you and all the dear viewers of the program. I wish to appreciate your colleagues for organizing this program. As you mentioned, the 18th International Exhibition of Oil, Gas, Refining and Petrochemicals was inaugurated yesterday, and with respect to the condition of the country and bearing in mind that our country is an important country as far as its hydrocarbon reserves is concerned, this exhibition is a major one that is usually held every year, and we had so many participants this year. More than 100 domestic and foreign manufacturing companies participated in the exhibition, in this year's exhibition, and also this year's exhibition was somehow different because domestic companies, since they are playing a more active role in the country's industry, so it's a little bit different this year.
Well, it's impressive to have, as you mentioned, over 100 companies, both domestic and international, in attendance. What comes to mind here is, given the scope of its international attendance, I have to talk about the sanctions. Give us, before we even get into it, overall, the sanctions that were U.S.-led along with the European Union, they obviously were meant to have a three-tier effect, globally, domestically, and otherwise. Tell us how it has had an effect and how we stand regarding the whole situation.
Well, the sanctions have started since several years ago on the pretext of Iran's nuclear program, and as they claim, they started with warning sanctions, then they announced and declared deterrent sanctions, and in fact what they announced last year was the so-called paralyzing sanctions. The aim behind these sanctions in the country's oil industry was that they pursue three major issues as the goals pursued by the sanctions. Firstly, as far as the global market is concerned, they want to deprive us of the global market. This is a point that is considered as the aim behind the sanctions, and also they want to create problems as far as the production capacity is concerned, in order to cause difficulties for the people, and also prevent the development of the country's oil industry. They want to prevent the expansion of the oil industry. Now, as far as the market is concerned, when last year the sanctions started, we faced certain problems. For this, after 100 years, probably it was even the first time that such a sanction was imposed against a country in the transportation field. Now, when the sanctions started, we created a plan, that is a plan for the development of the country's oil industry. We had, in fact, made the planning for within 1 or 2 months, and the problems related to the shipment of oil and insurance and so on, some difficulties were created. We, in fact, had the planning, and we managed to overcome the problem, and also we managed to dominate the transport of oil. And I can tell you today that today we have the capability to transport the oil shipments more than the capacity we had even prior to the sanctions. We have no problem in this regard. And we have our customers, and in fact, it's not possible to ignore us in the global market. The Europeans do not purchase our oil. We have also imposed sanctions on them. We have our customers today, and more than 60 countries today, in fact, are purchasing our petrochemical and oil products and derivatives. So we have our presence, we have maintained our presence in the market. The more important issue is that, in fact, the government is making the planning so that we'll be able to. Several years ago, the leader of the Islamic Revolution had emphasized this point, and in fact, the government had started taking actions by creating the National Development Fund. We, in fact, seek to, in fact, separate the national budget from our oil revenue. And we see there are countries that have no oil exports, but they have the positive trade balance. We did the planning in order to separate the country's budget from the oil export revenues. I can refer to this year's budget that this has been implemented. Now, in fact, the oil revenue will be used for infrastructural projects. In 1392 Iranian calendar, that we witnessed the climax of sanctions. Great deal of efforts were made by the government, and it was made by the government, and in fact we had $12 billion last year. In fact, the exports were less than our imports. So if we, without relying on the oil revenue, if we have that balance becoming positive, as far as the country's administration is concerned, we will not be in need of oil revenue. This will happen. That may cause certain difficulties for the country, but it's in fact a bright prospect ahead. And this had to happen. This had to happen several years ago, and this will happen due to the sanctions. In fact, those who are imposing sanctions upon us today, they should know that even if we have no oil export, we'll be able to run the affairs of the country. Iran is a vast country, and